Hey everyone, Regal Reviews here. It is White Rice Wednesday, which means time for my Survivor recap. So, you may have noticed I didn't do a recap for last week's video. I had family in town, family comes first. So, I'm gonna do what I did the previous week and just combine episode 4 and 5. So, basically, what seems to be the central focus is idols. Like, there is a lot of idol play this season. And people I know I've seen in the Survivor community were pissed that Claire got voted off, but she didn't compete in challenges. And like I ended in my last video, she clearly said that she was going to continue to sit out, so she wasn't any use to her tribe at all. So in the long run, made the right decision. But there doesn't seem to be, I'm very shocked that there doesn't seem to be any rivalries this season. I mean, granted, there are some people that gravitate more toward each other, but there's I don't see a villain yet. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think there's a villain. But with this idol play, it's very tricky. And one might think, well, the idol's out in the open. Wouldn't that be easier? Not necessarily, because if it's just in a bird cage in the open, if you go and take that, somebody's going to know the idol is gone. So what Carolyn did, she put 2 sticks in the bird cage, and that kind of created some confusion. I gotta give the girl credit. Nobody knows that she has an idol, and she has a really good poker face. Like, I am shocked nobody thought she would be a suspect. And it just goes to show you how people underestimate Caroline. And we even saw that in tonight's episode with when they went on a journey. Carolyn, Brandon, and Danny went on a journey together, and nothing happened, but they were just like chill, having food, taking a break from the game, and Brandon and Danny were talking to each other, but they weren't talking to Carolyn. And then they basically tell Carolyn that, oh, don't take this the wrong way, but you're an easy target. I'm like, who the hell says that? I mean, and the fact that they didn't even talk to Carolyn or respect her opinion or thoughts, just wow. I'm wondering how that's gonna play out, the reunion, or online, when I go online now and see what people think of the comments. But I thought that was just ridiculous. And I still like Carson. I respect the fact that, he knows his strengths and weaknesses. And he knew his weaknesses going on Survivor, and he did something about that. Like, he knew that he was a stick, and he gained 30 pounds on purpose so he could be prepared on Survivor. And he wants to downplay the fact that he's very strategic. Well, yeah, strategic, but he mostly wants to downplay the fact that he's very, very smart, because now we're starting to see, we did see a pattern of people not wanting the physical threats to win. And now, because then we see, oh, more strategic threats are starting to win. So now it's like, okay, you can't be that physically fit, you can't be that strategic, And it seems like Jam Jam is still a fan favorite, and I have nothing against him. I think he's cool, pretty funny. What I do like is that when you get to put the game aside a bit and you kind of get to make those connections and bond. We saw that with Josh and Jam Jam tonight when they were talking about their coming out stories. And it was great to see that, they, not only had something in common, but they had shared experiences. So they kind of have that connection, And yeah, I know I've seen that in previous seasons, like with Adam and Jay in Millennials versus Gen X. They are bonding over their mom's health problems. So yeah, and another thing was Matt's arm. We saw early on day 2 how he got injured, and we've seen people pop their shoulder out on Survivor before, but this is still hurting going day 9, day 9, day 11. So it's very concerning, and eventually what happens is he does get medevaced, and that's very tough. It's very tough. Like, when you go on Survivor, you don't expect to be medevaced at all. If you're not going to win the season, you at the very least want to have the dignity to be voted out. Like, it's horrible to be gone out in a medevac, and I had to leave for a few minutes. Again, my own fault. But I don't know if the doctor said he had to leave, or did they give him the choice to either stay in the game or go home. And I don't really like when they give them the choice, because if it was up to me, I mean, granted, if the injury was life threatening, of course, no question, I would leave the game. But if it's not that serious and can be repaired later, I would stay in the game. So in that aspect, I don't like when the doctor gives a choice. I'd rather if I was going out there and to get medevac, I'd rather the doctor tell me that, hey, you're too sick to continue, or hey, this injury is too serious for you to continue in the game. We're gonna pull you from the game, because there's a lot of people who just would not pull themselves out. And they did some of my favorite challenges. I like when they come up with new ones, because when you see the same ones over and over again, it's boring. At one point, they were tied together and had to go through this obstacle course, and they had to untie these knots, and then they had to do that maze puzzle, that famous one where it's like never ending, and two people hold on to it and they have to get it to the end. And one might think, oh, well, it's easy because you're just going through a maze and going through the end. No, you have to get the ball to the end. You have to get 2 more to stay there. And so if you move it a certain way, the balls could go flying. And they also did one in the water where there was these different, not platforms, but big squares, whatever. And what they needed to get this bag in a slingshot, and every single person had to hit the target. I'm like, ooh, no pressure there. And what was interesting is that, again, the idol play. And a lot of people have a lot of idols. We saw that Carson now has an idol. We see that Josh now has an idol. And Jamie now has an idol. But they did say it's an immediate idol, which means they must use it right away. But that doesn't make sense to me, because if that person's not going to tribal council, is it they have to use it at that tribal council that they go to? Because that could be powerful, because if it's an immediate idol, meaning that you can only use that at the next tribal council you go to, then if they get into the merge and they still have that idol, they'll be protected. A lot of people actually would be protected by their idols. And that's what was different about the journeys between the 2 episodes. In episode 4, they all got an idol. And again, there's always a catch. They also had to draw a buff, and they switched tribes. Not the whole tribes, but just the people who went on the journey. This time you would think the same thing, but I'm like, no, that'd be too easy to just be handing out idols willy-nilly. So that's what they did differently. They just had a break from the game, had some good food and everything. So Josh then was on a new tribe, and he's, automatically on the outs because there's 3 to his 1. So theoretically, they can all just, if they keep tribe strong, they could easily vote him out, no question. But because he was in the power position before, where there was two alliances, 2 on one, 2 on the other. He's in the middle, so he'd be the swing vote. But sometimes people see that and they end up voting him, the swing vote, out. So Josh tries to work with Carolyn and say, hey, let's work with something, let's do this. And when they get to tribal council, Josh ended up playing his idol and played it correctly and sent Sarah home. And with this tribal council, Josh claimed he had an idol. And again, I respect the people that go out there and try to make fake idols, but he used the beads right from the tree mail, and Jam Jam and Carolyn caught that right away. I thought that was so funny. So the fake idol is exposed, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my god, this is going to be an interesting tribal council. Spoiler alert, they don't go to tribal council because Matt got medevaced. They don't go to tribal council, so they're safe in other game. I'm curious what they're going to do, because the merge has to be coming, because if that tribe, say, loses again, they're going to be down 2 people. So what do they do then? They have no choice but to do a merge, or they can, put one on one tribe, one on the other. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's Survivor. I'm really looking forward to next week's, as always. If you want to check out Survivor, it is on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. on CBS, and you can also watch it live on Paramount Plus. Until next time, stay regal.